Come say hello to the camera. Come here. Come here. Oh, go on. It's me again. So today, right, we're doing a recipe that seems long-winded, but I need to explain myself because one of the things that I get messaged the most is, Has, why is my kofte falling off the skewers? Or how do I make a dana? Or why, when I make a kofte, it's dry, blah, blah, blah. So I'm gonna show you how I was shown in Turkey to make actual kofte, right? We call them kofte. Now, in Turkey, right, in the south, where the barbecue country is, when you order a kebab, it's minced meat on a skewer. So we expect shish or pretty much shish or like whole things on bones. Kebab in the south is minced meat that's normally plain. It's just like lamb fat and salt, right? There's no like flavors unless you go to Adana and then they change it. But the idea is that this video and this recipe is about understanding the technique to make sure that your kofte never falls off the fucking skewer again, yeah? This is long-winded and just bear with me. So, we're using a fatty piece of meat to start, right? So I've got lamb rib, yeah? That's already got the fat on. I basically told the butcher, take the bones out for me and let me keep it the way it is, right? So what we're gonna do is we need to basically cube this up. Now, lamb rib as it is like this is quite a tough thing to eat, but Turks love a lamb rib. Like if you go to Mangal or go to any other Turkish restaurant, there's always lamb rib on the menu, and they're cooked hard and fast, and they're covered in like salt and MSG and all nice things, and they catch smoke, right? The beauty of a lamb rib is the bone itself, when you're grilling it, gets to heat up, and then you've almost got like your own handle to eat with, yeah? So, I'm not gonna give you the actual measurements of this because I'm freeballing, but the measurements are in the book, right? And it does seem like a long process, but what you're doing by doing it this way, yeah, is that you're controlling the amount of fat to meat ratio. And really what you're looking for is 70-30. So you want 70% meat, not a lean meat, like a fatty meat. You want to go rib or you want to go shoulder. And then we're going to add our own fat into it and control. The thing about kebab in Turkey revolves around one thing, and Turks love fat because fat equals flavor, it equals smoke. And the Turks use a particular fat when making barbecue things, and it's called kuyruk, which is tail fat. It's the fat that's stored in a lamb's arse, right, over the summer months. Sorry, it's the fat that's stored in the lamb's arse from where it's grazing in the winter, and it basically, whatever the lamb feeds on, the Turks believe that that's where the flavor goes. It goes into their arses. So like, if you've ever seen those TikTok videos where the lambs have got big batties and they're like jiggling about and people are like, raw, that lamb's got back. That is where the fat essentially comes from. It's lamb tail fat. It used to be really hard to get hold of in the UK due to, I think, cleanliness and bacteria. But now they've passed a law where you can get this. So if you live next to a Turkish food center or a Yasha Halim or a Turkish supermarket with a butcher's, right? They're normally frozen in packets in the freezers. And if they don't have them, ask them to get it for you. Don't be shy, just be like, listen man, I need some lamb fat, lamb tail fat. Could you get me some? At the minute, it's fucking expensive. It's like £22 a kilo, but a little goes a long way. So make sure that you're buying lamb tail fat. The difference is between hand mincing is that I can control whether or not my meat emulsifies or if it stays individual. This isn't the best thing to do, oh, it's just got bone in it. This isn't the best thing to do on a sunny day like today outside. So we've left it until like the later part of the afternoon so that we're not directly in the sun, because whenever you're working with fat, if you're working in heat heated areas or in hot spaces, fat starts to melt and it starts to fuck shit up. So this has been in the fridge all day, still cold. The fat that I'm using is frozen, which again is going to help with the whole process. I've sliced it all up, and then we're gonna go into small. The smaller you can cube it now, the easier it is to mince, right? So take some time, mind your fingers, use a sharp knife and mince up this lamb. Cool, so lamb rib all minced. Now, this is the fat that I was talking about. This is tail fat, right? Really important, very distinct flavor, gives you loads of really good smoke. And for Turks, and barbecue in particular, smoke's the most important thing. When I first started cooking and I was trialing out recipes on the barbecue, Dad would say to me, how have you marinated this, man? There's no smoke. And I think the flavor that we all love and enjoy the most about barbecue is the smokiness. So the Turks were like, all right, cool. Let's use the fattest part of the animal to create more smoke. So I'm just gonna do the same thing. The smaller we go now, the easier the mix comes together. So look, this has been in the freezer just to temperature control. If you try to do this while it's thawed out, it tends to like stick to the chopping board. So you want to do it cold. It's just easier to manage, easier to deal with. But like, imagine, right, I know this looks like a lot of fat, and it is a lot of fat, but when we barbecue, or when I'm barbecuing, I often say to people, a little bit of veg oil, a little bit of this, a little bit of that goes a long way, because that's literally what gives you the flavor on a barbecue. It's the smoke. It's not cooking over coals alone. It's the smokiness that you want to pick up and what you want to capture. And when you look at a ocakbaşı, a mangal in a restaurant, it's got a big suction ventilator, which means you can cook over really fierce grills, create loads of smoke, and that's what's trapping on the meat, right? So it really is, although it's like the most primitive form of cooking, there's definitely right and wrong ways to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, big up the Americans, but you lot barbecue wrong. That whole like Traeger electronic before game day wings, it's not what I'm on. I want like smoke, I want control, I want hard, I want fast. I want to be able to impart the flavors that I want to impart and not rely on fucking little pellets to do that for me. Also, Traeger, if you're watching this or someone sends this to you, that's not a dig, right? It's just that barbecue wherever you go is different. And like throughout the Middle East and Europe and all those other places, barbecuing over live fire for me, or cooking over live fire for me, is what the word barbecue means. Looks like a lot of fat, but we're now going to chop this in, right? So you can do this with a sharp knife. Turks would normally do it with a big rocking knife called a zır that rocks up and down like this. I bought this veg knife back from Turkey. This thing. And I'm just going to chop through. And so what we're looking for, right? So the reason we're hand chopping is because we don't want the fat to emulsify. The Turks believe that when you're making a Adana or a KOFTE or anything like that that's hand chopped, the pieces of meat should fall apart under no pressure. So the analogy that they use is like it should be like bulgur wheat, right? That each piece is almost like a grain. So what we're doing is we're controlling the bite of the bite and the texture. So, I've been bashing away probably for about 10 minutes, right? And when you know it's ready, when you've got like little small tiny specks of meat, like nothing should be bigger than like, it's all quite rice grain. When you scoop it, it should move uniform. So like you shouldn't have any big bits or chunky bits. So everything's moving as one piece of meat. It's not crumbling apart. Also, I don't know what it is about mince, but when you buy mince, it has a fucking high water content, especially the ones in supermarkets. When you cook that mince out, it pisses all of this moisture out. And it's normally because it's like odds and sods. And supermarkets and shit butchers often pump water into animals and into things that they want to sell to make them weigh more. It's just the way it is. But with this, see, it's like one big, giant, delicious patty. And if I'd be lying if I said to you I didn't think I look really cool doing it. Like I feel like the shit. I feel like the man with all of the barbecue knowledge. Yes, it's long-winded, but to be honest, I reckon it probably took me 20 minutes, George, no?
Less than.
It's all about how thin you can get it in the beginning, and obviously having a big knife. If you can't use one of these, use a Chinese cleaver. Anything that you can like rock back and forth. I sharpened this yesterday, so it is like cut your head off sharp. But this is what you're looking for. Uniform, like if I pick this up and throw it, it'd splat and hold onto a wall, right? Is what I'm looking for. The same way people are like, throw that pasta against the wall, it'll tell you when it's cooked, which is bollocks. But if I threw this against the wall, it'd stick. You know when you ran toilet paper underwater in school, you went, and it stuck to the ceiling? If you did this with this, it'd just smear. It'd be tepsi kebab. So, that's done. At this point, I'm not gonna season it. What I need you to do is that this needs to chill out for a bit. This needs to go back to being fridge cold before it goes on skewers. We need a really hot barbecue, cold skewer, cold meat, hard and fast, yeah? So, I'm gonna go run this inside, board and all. Yeah, we're good. And I'll be back. We haven't seasoned this yet, right? So I'm only gonna season with salt. I don't wanna season with anything else because we're doing different variations. We're gonna do the bog standard, what the word kebab means in the south, which is hand-cut lamb deliciousness, right? So we're getting a little bit of salt in. I'm just gonna mix this through. Just make sure there's no clumps of salt. Now, you need to remember that when you're working with things that need to remain cold, that your body temperature also affects things, right? Gennaro Contaldo, the great, once shook my hand, grabbed me by the cheek and said, "Oh, ideal pasta, ideal, what a beautiful temperature hands for pasta," right? Which to women means clammy hands, right? Don't let that put you off though, girls. I'm still all right, you get me? So already the warmth of my hands is starting to warm this mix up, although it's been in the fridge. Now, one of the key things that I saw in Turkey was guys were using bicarbonate of soda mixed in water to get meat on skewers. I'm not doing that. What I am doing is ice. And you'll see how the lamb fat is solidified on my hand? You can see the lamb fat, right? So, hand into ice water. Pick up a clump of your mix. Bring it together, skewer on, and we're going to squeeze and move at the same time. This is probably a bit too much, let's get rid of that. So what I'm doing is I'm squeezing until I can feel the skewer, right? And now, the ice water is just helping me shape. Making sure that it's somewhat even on all sides. Now, this in the south is what they call hush hush kebab, which is just plain tail fat rib meat, hand cut, onto skewers. Now this isn't going to need any oil in it because of all the fat from the lamb, but once it's on and moulded, don't fuck about, get it done. And we want fierce, hot charcoals to cook this rapidly. So look, breakage is fine, right? It's just the moisture leaving. Hash is often served in like small bits like this in Urfa and in Gaziantep and Adana. Still hissing. A couple of chilies. So look, that's it, plain and simple. I want to show you how it's served. When you order kebab, the word kebab in the south of Turkey. So look, when I spoke earlier about grains of bulgur, look at this. It barely holds, right? I'm not doing much to it. But look at the grease on my hands. I know that sounds bad, but all of that tail fat has time to render and smoke and hiss over the barbecue. And the flavour is completely different. Bear with me, this is going to sound strange. It's almost barnyardy in flavour, right? So you know how sometimes a good goat's cheese smells like a barn or tastes like a barn, and you can really taste what the goat's been grazing on after they milk it. It's the same with using tail fat. So like this now, you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. You can add oregano and pul biber. You can add red peppers and chilies to make Adana. This is the base, right? So I've shown you how to make hash, and we're just going to smash one off. I'm gonna go a whole chili in this one because fuck it, bruv. Seeds and all. You will never understand until you make it. But like, see this? Look at all of that. The koftes stay moist because of the fat content. Just peel away. So fucking yum, man. And like, it's the most extreme lamminess. That if you can handle lamb and you like lamb, it's the most lammy you're ever gonna get. This is for you, my friend. No chili sauce, no garlic sauce, chili inside, and we chop meat hand. So like, unlike a mincemeat, where it turns into this mystery texture of I don't know what I'm eating, when you hand chop, you still get little chunks of precisely cut lamb that feel like you're eating meat still and not feel like you're eating pulverized bits of meat that have gone through a grinder. The best dating app there is. And the best MC in the galaxy. But this, it teeters on the cusp of like Persian. Me and George have eaten in Rayhoon a few times in Golders Green. And they're, I think they're what they call kibba. I don't remember what they're called, but they're all about emulsifying meat onto a skewer and making it. And wherever you go in the world, someone's putting some sort of meat on a stick and cooking it. And I guess this is Turkey's answer. But yeah, man, for all those lonely nights that I was on my travels and all the bus journeys and fucking the 11,000 miles that I travelled, this was one of those things that I ate that I was like, fuck, people need to see this. You're welcome. This is how they eat it. Chili, lavash, beautiful bits of meat, hand chopped, care, attention to detail. There's some things that the processes seem heavy, but you have to respect them. Do you know what I mean? People don't fucking cut corners until you know how to do them properly. And that's what this dish is about. Hand chopped, beautiful. Thank you very much. There's one for me and one for George. Cheers. Yeah, boom. The place I ate this in, they only make that. It's all they make. There's 5 guys all day. Pot. All day, bro.
Çok House Films.
Can you say films?
Film.
Films.
Films.